The President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. Before we hand over to the prosecution to continue putting questions to the witness, the Chamber wishes to inform the parties and the public that during tomorrow's Tuesday, which is the 4th of August, rather September, in the afternoon there will be no hearing due to the fact that the Chamber has some important matters to deal with. And secondly, the Chamber wishes to also ask the prosecution to advise the Chamber as to how the time is divided among the civil parties, because the parties will have only today and tomorrow's session to finish the testimony of this witness, all together with the defense.
Thank you, Mr. President. It might be a translation issue. I understood Your Honour to be saying that we are to conclude the examination of this witness by all parties today and tomorrow. The allocation that was communicated to us by the Chamber for this witness is 2 days and a quarter, if my records are correct. That equates to approximately 10 hours and 50 minutes, so just under 11 hours. I've been keeping track of our progress. We're at approximately 5 hours and 10-15 minutes right now, so we're about just under halfway through our examination. I need approximately another 1.5 hours, so that would be the rest of today and approximately half an hour to an hour tomorrow. And then my friends, civil party lead co-lawyers, have informed me that they need approximately 2.5 hours, depending on how many questions remain unanswered. That would still mean that we will conclude our examination in less than the time that was allocated to us, but it would mean that we would most likely need to continue, albeit for a brief period of time beyond lunchtime tomorrow. That's the position as we understand it at the moment.
The President, thank you. You may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Sapang, thank you for coming back, and I realise it's been a long day. We have only less than an hour to go, so I hope you will bear with us. Returning to that document we were discussing earlier, D200/9.5, I just want to make sure I heard correct that you, in fact, saw a finalised version of this document during the Democratic Kampuchea period. That is one without the annotations.
Response: yes, it is correct.
Thank you very much. Looking at the first paragraph of the document, this is the only paragraph that I will ask you about in the interest of time. Under Roman numeral number 1, general information about the enemy and us. I just want to read this passage and see if you can assist us with some follow-up questions. Quote, "The strong front line and weak base of the Yuan invaders and the situation of hard front line and strong base in all fields of politics, economics, and military, both locally and overseas, have been elaborated on in all aspects in the Democratic Kampuchea government's communique by the Comrade President of the State Presidium on December 31st, 1977. All comrades will understand more clearly from this document. Here, we do not need to talk more about these issues. Given that you've seen this document, Mr. Nonsapang, do you also recall that speech that is mentioned here, a speech by the President of the State Presidium on the 31st of December 1977?
Response: Yes, I do. I used to listen to the statement made by Mr. Kyusampan. It was done on the 31st of December 1977 through the National Radio of Democratic Cambodia broadcast.
Now, I want to read to you from a transcript of a speech attributed to Mr. Kyusampan, and I want to see if the contents of that transcript are consistent with the words that you heard in that radio broadcast. I'm only going to read a short part of it. It's a long document. Your Honours, this is D108/43/9, and the relevant passage starts on English ERN S00008729. Unfortunately, we don't have a Khmer or French version. We've made a request for the translations. If I have your leave, I will read 2 or 3 sentences simply to see whether this content is recognizable or recognized by the witness.
The President, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. The speech includes the following paragraph, Mr. Nonsapang. I'm going to proceed slowly because the interpreters will have to follow. I just want to see if you recognize it. Quote, "The CPK Central Committee, the Cambodian People's Representative Assembly, and the Government of Democratic Cambodia appeal to the entire party, the entire Cambodian Revolutionary Army, and the entire Cambodian people to raise their sense of revolutionary vigilance further and increase, strengthen, and expand the sense of patriotism, national honour, and the national soul. To safeguard, strengthen, and expand the fruits of victory of the revolution." I'll stop there. A little bit further down, just one more passage. "The CPK is a correct and clear-sighted party which has gone through valiantly and successfully a long, complicated and difficult revolutionary struggle." Mr. Nonsapang, I've only read a portion of that speech. Do you recognize those words? Do they sound familiar to you from the speech that you heard on the 31st of December 1977?
Response. With regard to the long statement like that, I don't think I remember them all.
Thank you. We will move on from these two documents. I'm going to ask you about a few more telegrams and conclude, if I can, with the telegrams today and possibly move on to another topic. The next telegram is E3/1076. It is a telegram dated the 8th of April 1978. And, Mr. President, with your permission, I have a hard copy for the witness, and we can display it on the screen.
The President, you may proceed.
Mr. Nonsapang, this is one of the documents that were discussed with you by the investigators. As I said, it was dated the 8th of April 1978. It is entitled Dear Brother, and it is signed by number 47 on the 8th of April 1978. Do you recall who number 47 related to?
Response. Yes, I do. 47 refers to the secret code of His Excellency Son Sen.
Thank you. Now, this document in the first three paragraphs discusses military operations. I don't want to summarize beyond that. It speaks for itself. At number 4, in paragraph 4, it says, as for the situation in the base areas, we continue to purge successively. At number 5, tomorrow Comrade Chan will go to meet Brother Pim. Do you recall who that reference in number 5 relates to? Comrade Chan and Brother Pim.
Response. I do not know Comrade Chan. However, Brother Pim refers to Sao Pim, the Secretary of the East Zone. He was a member of the party.
Do you know what the reference in paragraph 4 to continuing to purge successively in the base area relates to? Do you know what that relates to? If you don't, that's fine. Just tell us so.
Response. Concerning the purchase at the base, it is out of my knowledge. I worked in the office in Phnom Penh. I did not see it. I did not witness any purchase being carried out there.
Thank you. And moving on from the contents of the telegram itself and – focusing on the top left-hand corner of the document. Unfortunately, it's obscured a little bit by the numbers there. Our translation indicates that those letters state Brother Van. Is that correct? Are you reading that to be Brother Van in the top left-hand corner?
Response: Yes, it is what I also see.
Thank you. In your statement, D200/9 at Khmer ERN 00294-541, French 00374-937, and English 00483-969, you said the following: the handwritten annotation states that Brother Van, that is Mr. Yingsiri, was the Minister of Foreign Affairs. This annotation was probably written by Tay, not Pon. They did not yet place the copied to. Sometimes they forgot due to an emergency situation. Does that summarize correctly your statement to the investigators?
Response: Yes, it does. I did say so. Brother One refers to Ieng Sari.
In the interests of being fair, I want to make sure we understand also, you attribute the annotation to Tan. You say it was probably Tay. Did you see Tay's annotations frequently so that you are in a position to recognize his handwriting?
Response: I said maybe or perhaps because I was not sure.
Thank you. Now, if we can look at two more telegrams that appear to have an annotation relating to Brother Van. The first one is E3/936. E3/936. This is another document that you discussed with the investigators. Your Honours, I have a hard copy for the witness.
The President, you may proceed, and court officer is now instructed to bring the hard copy from the prosecutor to the witness.
Looking at this document, Mr. Sopang, again in the top left-hand corner, does the annotation state Brother Van?
Response: Yes, it does. The same writing.
Now, when you were discussing this document with the investigators, you said the following. This is D200/9, or rather E3/67, your second statement. Khmer ERN 535, French ERN 003749932, and English 00483 You said the following: the annotation Brother Van means to Uncle Ying Siri. This annotation is Pon's handwriting. Is that correct, Mr. Sapang, that you identify this particular handwriting as belonging to Pon?
Response: yes, it is.
Pon.
Now, just to be comprehensive with that document, there is handwriting at the bottom of the page in Khmer, which you looked at, and you stated that you did not recognize that handwriting, which states the date of receipt and the copying to the uncles. Is that correct?
Response: yes, it is. The letters were different from the letter that addressed to Bong Wan.
Thank you. Now, one more document, a final one with Brother Van, an annotation Brother Van, is E3/812. E3/812. This is another telegram from number 47, and it's dated the 26th of April 1978. Mr. President, I have a hard copy for the witness, and we can display it on the screen with your permission.
The President, you may proceed.
Now, looking at this document, if it could be displayed on the screen for everyone to see the top left-hand corner. Here again, I believe we see an annotation that states Brother Van. Is that correct, Mr. Nonsapang?
Response: yes, it is.
And in relation to that handwriting, you said the following in your first statement, E3/64, at Khmer ERN 00328-043, French ERN 00411-710, and English 00334-060. Quote, this handwriting reads Brother Van, Ying Siri, is Pon's writing because I saw his writing when he brought things to me for translation. Is that a correct summary of what you told the investigators? That you that you were able to recognize this as Pon's handwriting?
Response: yes, it is.
And is it correct that you were familiar with Pon's handwriting? Because, as you say in a statement, you saw it often when he brought things to you to translate.
Response: yes, it is.
Based on your understanding of the working procedures, what would be the reason that Pon would have handwritten the name Brother Van on these particular documents that we've been looking at?
Response: the reason is not different from the previous telegrams. This situation was relevant to what happened at the border areas, the issues concerning Cambodia and Vietnam. And Pon knew very well that this information had to be sent to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs so that the ministry was informed on the disputes at the border area between Cambodia and Vietnam.
And if I can just ask you one more question on that. Now, we see that at the end of this document, it is copied to Granduncle, Granduncle Norn, Granduncle Van, Granduncle Vaughan, Office, and Archive. Again, based on your knowledge of the working procedures, given that we see Brother Van's name in the copied to line, what would be the reason to additionally annotate on the first page Brother Van?
It was Mr. Pon who wants to stress that the matter was related to foreign affairs, so it was imperative that it has to be delivered to Uncle One. Defense Counsel Michael Canavas, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I didn't want to object. I thought the gentleman understood that he's here not to speculate. Perhaps he could tell us whether Pon did in fact disclose this information to him. How does he know? He's being asked to opine as to what Pon did. He hasn't said one word as to what procedure was set in place for Pon to do all these things. He's merely speculating in this instance. So perhaps he can answer us concretely. Otherwise, to strike the answer from the record or to disregard it.
Your Honours, this is along the lines of the similar comment we heard from the Khieu Samphan team this morning. Obviously, when it doesn't suit the defence to hear the responses, they broadcast their intended questions. The appropriate time for these questions is the defence's examination. I do intend to ask the witness a number of questions about these documents, but what questions I ask with all due respect, is up to the prosecution. The defence can take their own turn and ask as to the sources of the witness's knowledge.
President, the prosecution, you may continue. Once again, Mr. Witness, you are reminded that you shall only tell the truth that you have heard, have experienced, and remembered, or at least through your observation of the events related to the questions posed to you. And that is your obligation. And if you are unsure, uncertain, you cannot respond based on your personal conclusion.
Let me ask you a question from your personal knowledge and experience, Mr. Non Sapang. In the meetings that you attended with PON, which you described to us this morning, was there ever a report that documents addressed to the uncles were not being delivered to the uncles?
No, I did not know about that.
I just want to make sure I understand. In the meetings you attended and in your discussions with PON for the entire period you worked with him, you never heard him say there was a problem with documents not being delivered to the uncles.
During the meeting, I never heard the PON raise that kind of issue.
Thank you. Now, one more telegram, and this may be the final one that we address. Your Honours, this is document D200/3.3. It is a document dated the 7th of July 1978. With your permission, I have a hard copy for the witness and we can show it on the screens as well.
Yes, you may proceed.
This was one of the documents that you also discussed with the investigators. It is a document addressed to Ren Fung Company Limited, Hong Kong. Its reference number is 086-HK/78. It is signed by Fortra, F-O-R-T-R-A, Phnom Penh. And it may be helpful if we can show that document on the screen so everybody can see the annotations I'm discussing. In the top left-hand corner, Mr. Sapang, there is a annotation which states, already sent to Brother Hem, an original copy to HK, copied letter, sample of 2 sets of boxes, and then there is a signature and a date, 7th of the 7th. When you were looking at this document, you said the following in your statement E3/64, Khmer ERN 00328-042, French ERN 00417009, and English 0033405. Quote, Brother Hem referred to Khieu Samphan. This telegram related to commerce, so it was copied to Khieu Samphan. I used to receive Khieu Samphan telegram which regarded to the distribution of salt, rice and fish paste. Is that an accurate summary of what you told the investigators?
Matt?
Yes, that was my statement.
Thank you. And 2 questions down from that answer, you were asked the following question. Was this telegram about selling rice? Answer, yes, it was Ta Rith, the Minister of Commerce stationing in Hong Kong, who had sent it. This telegram might be sent through the fax or through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or through their embassy in Cambodia. Just focusing on that first part, is it correct that you described the author of this telegram as being Van Rith or Ta Rith?
Yes, I spoke with the investigators of the OCIJ that the words are used, perhaps. That was all. Or now I would like to say that I did not know because I personally did not work on this issue.
Thank you. Thank you for being precise on that issue. It makes it easier for us to move on. So I won't ask you any further questions on this particular document. Another type of document that you discussed with the investigators was a slightly longer form of report, which I want to show to you and see if we can discuss it in a little more detail. Your Honours, this is document E3/951. It is a communication dated the May 11th, 1978 and addressed to Ankar 870. With your leave, Mr. President, we can give the witness a hard copy and project it on the screen as well.
Yes, you may proceed.
Now, in your second statement, E3/67 at question and answer 27 and 28, you identified the person sending the document, Nim, as being the chairman of the Northwest Zone. You indicated that it was Nim who had written the report and addressed it to 870. Is that correct?
But
Yes, the word true respect to Anka 870, that is correct. But Nyum was not the sector committee. He was the secretary of the Northwest Zone at the time.
Thank you. I think there was a translation error. I also understood him to be secretary of the Northwest Zone. Looking at the document, I note that it doesn't have the standard telegram letterhead. Are you able to say whether it was a telegram or a different type of written report?
This document is not a telegram which my group encoded. If a telegram coming out from me or my group, then there will be a proper heading for that telegram. That is the number of the telegrams and the band, or the number of the code signals. But here, nothing indicating the number of the telegram or the numbers of the code signals. So my group did not work on this telegram.
Do you know, and please tell us if you don't, how this document was communicated, how this type of document would have been communicated to Ankara?
I did not know for sure regarding the method of transmission of this document to Anka 870.
Thank you. Now, in your work in translating and decoding telegrams, did you translate from time to time telegrams from the Northwest Zone, from Secretary Nim?
During the decoding process, I saw the signature of Nim, but that kind of telegram or message was short, not as far or not as long as this one.
Since this is also a telegram, a communication, written communication from NIM, I want to see whether any of its contents were similar to those telegrams that you translated. If we look at the page in Khmer ERN 000-21043, French 00296-222, and English 00185-216. There is a section there starting with number 2, people's living conditions, and the report states, quote, "In the zone, shortage occurred in regions 1, 4 and 5, of which the most shortage hit was region 5, then region 1 and region 4. It was said that the entire 4 districts of region 5 faced shortage." And then the document goes on to describe the provision to the people of 1 or 1.5 can of rice per day. Looking at that content, did any of the telegrams which you translated discuss similar issues with shortages of food?
Not only Zone 1 reported about the living conditions of the people to the awareness of the upper echelon, various zones and sectors also reported a similar condition.
So just to make sure I understood correctly, similar conditions, shortages of food, etc., were reported in telegrams that you translated from various zones, not just the Northwest Zone.
The reports were not identical. In certain areas, the living conditions of the people were somehow better, and the rice production was in larger quantity, for instance 3 tons per hectare, and in certain areas it even reached 10 tons per hectare of rice production.
Thank you. Returning to another passage in this document, and this is on the first page in all 3 languages. There's a section entitled Internal Enemies Inside the Country, and I'll just read a brief excerpt. In regions, external enemies came in on May 5 and succeeded in encouraging and moving some people away with them. However, when they were trying to escape away with 40 people, we smashed all of them, with the only 2 that had escaped being under our further pursuit. In region 4, 5 and 3, likewise, there were sort of people movements, in brackets by enemies, though we smashed most of them. Again, I just wonder if you could enlighten us in the telegrams that you translated, whether similar information was reported about external enemies coming to encourage people to flee and then being chased.
In my interview with the Office of the Co-Investigating Judges, my statement was in about the conclusion that I made, so it cannot be used.
Thank you. Thank you for being precise. We'll move on from that document. I just want to ask you a few brief questions about the trainings that you attended. You mentioned to us that there were trainings that you attended, some dealing with technical matters and some with political matters. Where did you attend this type of training? Which location was it in?
There were two locations for the training. One was at the former technical Soviet institution, and the other one, which was for the political training, and that would be for the entire country. It was held at Borei Kaila.
Could you tell us first who conducted the courses at the former Soviet Institute?
The trainers were Pong and Pum. They were the political trainers.
And just to make sure that I have that correct, the trainer Pong, is that the same individual whom you had known during your work at B20?
This person, Pong, was the same person whom I met at B17 since I first arrived in that B17. So since then, he provided me with the political training, and when I was in Phnom Penh, it was the same. It was him who gave the political training.
Thank you. Now, looking at the other location, the Borikila School, did I understand correctly that you also attended education sessions at that school?
Most of the time, I never attended any major meeting at Borei Kila. But since you asked about the training locations, I mentioned Borei Kila. But I only attended the training at the Soviet Technical Institute.
Thank you. What were the topics that you were taught at the institute by Pong?
training provided by Pong was consistent with the declaration by the President of the State Presidium, and it was also consistent with the instructions from 870 that is in reference to the document from 870 that you have shown me.
That document dealt particularly with the armed conflict with Vietnam. Were there other topics apart from the conflict with Vietnam that were being discussed?
Let me say that there were ranges of topics, politically, economically, militarily, inside and outside the country. In fact, it covered all the general situations.
Do you recall whether any written materials were used in that training? Were you provided any written materials, or did Pong and Pum read from any materials to you?
I cannot recall.
ហើយក៏គ្មាន
And there was nothing in writing recording the note taken during the training.
Can I ask you this? At this point in time, 1975 to 1979, were you a member of the Communist Party of Kampuchea or of the Revolutionary Youth League?
But
I did not yet become a member of the Communist Party of Cambodia. However, I was a member of the Youth League.
Thank you. At this point, Mr. President, I would turn to another topic. I'm mindful of the time. Would you prefer me to continue, or should we stop here?
President. Thank you, prosecutor. Thank you, witness. The time is now appropriate for the adjournment. The court will adjourn today proceeding and resumed tomorrow morning, that is the 4th of September 2012, commencing from 9 a.m. For tomorrow proceeding, we will continue to hear the testimony of this witness, who will be questioned by the prosecution and by the lead co-lawyers. And for tomorrow proceeding, the chamber will only hear this witness for the morning session. And Mr. Witness, the hearing of your testimony has not yet concluded. You are invited to once again come to the court tomorrow morning. And court officer, in coordination with the visual unit, please arrange for the witness to return to his residence and have him returned tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Security guards, you are instructed to take the three accused back to the detention facility and have them back to the courtroom tomorrow morning prior to 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.